We use metaphors so often to describe our feelings that we barely even register them anymore. We say we have a heavy heart after a breakup, or that we're on cloud nine when we get good news. We complain about watching time fly when we're falling behind. We treat these phrases as harmless linguistic decorations. But let's look at a visual representation of what we're saying. What if the physical properties of language became actual laws of physics? What if describing your mood as heavy caused your body to drop a literal, crushing weight onto the floor beneath you? This strange premise is the mechanical foundation of an episode of the classic children's anime Doraemon. In it, the titular robot cat pulls out a device called the embodiment mirror. Instead of reflecting light, it reflects the literal, physical manifestation of the idioms people speak. By turning expressions into physical reality, the mirror acts as an emotional X-ray. It reveals that human language functions as the primary architecture of our perceived world. We see this mechanism immediately through the main character, Nobita. He's sitting in his room, paralyzed by the dread of an upcoming test, completely avoiding his studies. He is stuck in a mindset of pure procrastination. The gadget activates, and his laziness instantly triggers a localized physical phenomenon. The flow of time materializes in his bedroom, washing over him like a rapid river, physically punishing his inaction as minutes slip away. Yet Nobita simply dismisses the rushing water. He waves it off, oblivious to his continuous loop of negative self-talk and the way it actively alters his space. When left unchecked by self-awareness, abstract dread dictates the physical environment an individual operates within. Nobita is physically constructing a room out of his own anxiety. To understand how this vocabulary affects group dynamics, the narrative shifts outward to a wider social ecosystem, the local baseball field. Here, the mirror captures the hidden mechanics of interpersonal transactions. The local bully, Jian, is pitching dangerously fast. Tsuneo, the catcher, realizes he needs a strategy to survive the practice without getting hurt. So he employs explicit flattery. He starts buttering Jian up, telling him he has the talent to play in massive professional matches. This flowchart diagrams the exact transaction triggered by the mirror. Tsuneo's deceptive input splits into two distinct physical outputs. Tsuneo's internal guilt causes him to glow a bright, humiliating red, while Jian's ego absorbs the praise until he literally melts into a smiling puddle. That melting effect visualizes the moment a target's critical defenses break down. Jian's ego is so soothed by the flattery that his structural integrity collapses. It plays out as a goofy, slapstick moment on the diamond, but the underlying mechanic is a direct act of emotional manipulation. Tsuneo is using language to actively disarm a threat. Extroverted metaphors externalize hidden social transactions, taking the invisible power dynamics of manipulation and making them suddenly visible. But the mirror's most revealing reactions happen when the focus returns to Nobita. He spots Shizuka talking to Dekisugi, the perfect high-achieving student. Instantly, the comparison trap is triggered. Nobita's first symptoms are somatic and heat-based. He develops the literal burning eyes of jealousy, complaining of intense, suffocating heat as he watches his rival succeed where he fails. Look at how this continuous loop illustrates the ensuing spiral. The intense heat rapidly cools into an overwhelming weight. As Nobita internalizes his feelings of inadequacy, he sinks into the depth of sorrow. His mind triggers a literal heavy heart, causing his physical body to drag across the ground. By the final stage of the spiral, Nobita has entirely engulfed himself in a pitch-black void. He can barely walk forward, claiming he is navigating a path covered in thorns. This completely dark environment perfectly visualizes the self-fulfilling prophecy of a depressive state. The language of despair has blocked out all external light. While the baseball players used extroverted metaphors to connect and manipulate, introverted negative metaphors do the exact opposite. They construct solitary prisons, physically cutting the individual off from any objective reality outside of their own head. Nobita is now entirely trapped in his isolated void. He declares himself the saddest person in the world, completely cut off from his surroundings, until his teacher suddenly breaks into the darkness. Nobita's immediate reaction is to brace for an attack. He assumes the teacher has come to scold him for a 0 on his test. His brain is actively trying to reinforce the dark, thorny narrative he's built. But the teacher introduces a piece of unexpected, objective data. Nobita didn't get a 0. He scored a 65. It's not a perfect score, but it entirely contradicts Nobita's internal assumption of absolute failure. Watch how the physics of this space react. The heavy, ink-black void violently shatters. Nobita instantly becomes weightless, ascending into the 7th heaven as phantom plum flowers bloom in the air around him. The teacher's test score acted as a pattern interrupt. A single piece of objective truth carried enough kinetic force to instantly dismantle a complex, self-constructed reality of pure negativity. The blooming flowers and the sudden flight prove a crucial point. Nobita's world was never inherently dark. The environment around him was only ever as bleak as the vocabulary he used to describe it. It forces a necessary audit of our own internal dialogue. When you face a setback, what metaphors are you deploying in your head? Are you actively building a thorny path for yourself, or are you paving the way toward a brighter outcome? Language writes the operational code for our experience, defining the boundaries of our reality before we even step into it.